This episode will be completely taken out of context. Welcome to the Fact Check This podcast.
All right, Fact Check This daily, and it is a cold one out here, but I think it's a lot colder up north. And speaking of up north, we'll jump right into today's. So this is an ongoing story from a few months, and we're going to kind of jump in on it where it is today. So just straight from the Post. Schools can force vaccinate children against parents' wishes. State Supreme Court rules. And this is coming out of Vermont. So there's actually two different articles about this. One of them definitely has a lien that could get me in trouble with a certain streaming service. So we'll see how that goes. But or with a certain video platform. So we'll see how it goes. I may not say some of the stuff out loud and just kind of hint around it as we come to it. But then there's so this is a couple weeks old. The article is from today, but there's a follow-up article that's actually from a week or so ago. So anyway, we'll kind of, there's a lot that's going on with this whole thing, and we're going to kind of cover all of it as best we can. So schools can force vaccinate children against parents' wishes. State Supreme Court rules. This is from Vermont. The Vermont Supreme Court has ruled that schools can force vaccinate children for COVID against the wishes of their parents. The High Court ruled on a case involving a 6-year-old boy who was forced to take a COVID mRNA injection by his school. However, his family had explicitly stated that they didn't want their child to receive the vaccines. The school was aware that the parents didn't want their young son vaccinated, but decided to give him the injection anyway. The family responded by suing the school and the district, with the case going to the state Supreme Court. However, in a landmark ruling, the High Court agreed with the school greenlighting forced vaccinations of children across the state. Attorney John Clark has warned that the precedent set by the case threatens every child in America. Clark comments on the case in an article for The Federalist, which we'll cover after we get done with this one. So the one from The Federalist is from a week or so ago, and it actually gives a little more what's going on or what's going to happen with the case going forward. But we'll get to that in just a moment. The young boy was vaccinated with an experimental COVID-19 intervention against the family's wishes, and now the Vermont Supreme Court has endorsed the actions by the state actors, Clark reported. The Vermont court has ruled that the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act, PrEP, prohibits such claims, granting immunity to school and government personnel when they mandate vaccinations, he explained. Following the ruling in Vermont, the case now is being forwarded to the U.S. Supreme Court. Stunningly, the Vermont Supreme Court did not even pay lip service to the constitutional liberties implicated, ruling against traditional protections of parental rights and informed consent, Clark explained. But the PrEP Act is not above the Constitution's supremacy clause. It's the other way around. Clark warns that the ruling seeks to erase parental rights. In Vermont, minor children may obtain transgender hormones and birth control without parental consent, and a 2024 law bars parents from seeing which library books are checked out by their children 12 years and older. Yet these are examples where the child wants something against his parents' wishes. In Vermont's COVID-19 vaccination case, the child protested and was forced to be jabbed anyway. Tony and Sedgwin Politella and their son Leo were shocked that their clear expressions of opposition to Leo being vaccinated were ignored. Tony has visited his son's school with the express purpose of ensuring his child would not receive a COVID-19 vaccine, offering to keep Leo home on the day of an upcoming clinic. He was assured Leo would be fine. However, Clark claims that the school had been planning to force the injection onto the child despite reassuring the parents he would be excluded. Leo was given an arm tag displaying another boy's name and vaccinated despite his vocal protests. Then the school refused to explain how such a gross error occurred. Leo now is at a different school, Clark explained. The school should be burned to the fucking ground for allowing that to happen and for doing that to a kid against his parents' wishes. Then the bureaucracy inflicted a further injury to the family. Vermont Attorney General and Vermont court system employed laws designated to grant product liability immunity to Big Pharma to instead insulate incompetent government employees from accountability for their wrongdoings. The lawyer said the threat now is that the case has set a precedent. He notes that other courts may rely on its implied preemption of the government by the government of family rights. Congress never intended for the PrEP Act to abolish fundamental medical ethics or the legal rights of patients and parents. The PrEP Act does not shield public servants from accountability or actions that have nothing to do with vaccine safety or efficacy. The Politellas did not sue a vaccine manufacturer for a harmful product. They sued the school officials who inflicted very real harm. His warning is that those suspicious of various shots now could extend that distrust to schools and courts that favor negligent or ill-willed works over the rights and health of young children. COVID mRNA vaccines have been linked to a wide range of serious side effects that are still being researched and looked into, and that's as much as we're going to talk about with that right now. And I'll zoom in on this and you can read it for yourself, but I'm obviously not going to say those last few lines out loud because our overlords don't like that stuff. This is a terrible precedent. I mean, this is effectively saying that the schools are raising your children, that you don't have any say over it, that government, not even elected government officials are the ones who get to have the decision, the final say in your child's health, your child's everything, whatever they decide, it's their decision, not yours. This is like beyond bad. It is, however, so we'll article right quick. It is, however, being kicked up to the Supreme Court. Hopefully this gets in and gets read quickly. The parents appeal to U.S. Supreme Court after Vermont courts ruled schools can vaccinate kids against parents' wishes. A Vermont family whose 6-year-old son was vaccinated with an experimental COVID-19 intervention against the family's wishes has appealed a Vermont Supreme Court ruling. The Vermont court had ruled that the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act prohibits such claims, granting immunity to school, government, and personnel when they mandate vaccinations. Stunningly, the Vermont Supreme Court did not even pay lip service to the constitutional liberties implicated, ruling against traditional protections of parental rights and informed consent. But the PrEP Act is not above the Constitution's supremacy clause. It's the other way around. And a lot of this is the similar stuff to what we just read about the family in Vermont. Other state rulings. This common sense recognition of fundamental rights has been absent from Supreme Courts in Wyoming and Nevada, in addition to Vermont, as well as the Kansas Court of Appeals and federal courts in Kentucky and Oklahoma. A North Carolina case involving a football player vaccinated against his wishes is also making its way up the court system ladder. Congress never intended for the PrEP Act to abolish fundamental medical ethics or legal rights of patients and parents. The PrEP Act does not shield public servants from accountability for actions that have nothing to do with vaccine safety or efficacy. The Politellas did not sue the vaccine manufacturer for a harmful product. They sued the school officials who inflicted very real harm. So as multiple states are seeing this same kind of thing coming up, and as Trey says, it's a sweeping precedent for all kinds of BS that schools can now subject kids to without parental consent. Like it is robbing parental consent from you and me as parents. Like, what can you do about it? So these cases, as it says in Vermont, Wyoming, Nevada, Kansas, Oklahoma, Kentucky, North Carolina, these are all working their way up to the Supreme Court. So they will probably end up on the Supreme Court's docket at some point in the next year. And then we'll see how this works, because on some things like this, of this particular type of case, this uber majority conservative court has not been great on some of this sort of stuff. So we'll see how this goes, which means that it's all the more important. Like, what can you do? This means that it's all the more important that you, as a parent, be involved in your kid's school. Get involved with the school board. Like, know what's going on. be a pain in the ass. Do whatever you have to do. Like, make sure that these schools are abiding by the wishes of the parents and not doing whatever the fuck they want without any supervision, without any jurisdiction. Just like, this is what tyranny looks like. All right, this is what, like, for the leftists who scream about, oh God, everything is fascism. This is what fascism looks like. Like, they are stripping parental rights away and giving it to unelected bureaucrats and actors of the state to do whatever they want to do. Yeah, I have a bad feeling they'll stay the court order because they followed a procedure. Like, the Supreme Court has been objectively bad on stuff like this. So we'll see how this goes. I'm not particularly optimistic myself, which is why I say it's all the more important to get involved in your local school and make your voice heard. Be an absolute pain in the ass. Make them have to pay attention to what you say. Get other parents together. Like, a school board having to have an emergency meeting because parents are so enraged that they are creating a scene at the school, at the board office, that will actually make a world more difference than relying on these fucking courts. The court system is broken. We'll talk about the Daniel Penny stuff whenever a ruling is actually made on that. The courts are fucking broken. If you haven't had any interaction with the courts at any point, recently, I've been, because of divorce and kids and stuff, I've been, in and out of dealing with the court system for the last 8-9 years. They are broken. They are terrible. Justice is not what the courts are designed for anymore. Get involved, be involved, make sure that you are making sure that these schools are doing what you as the parents want. Don't rely on a fucking higher court or justice to be served. There is no justice in this country anymore. The whole fucking thing is rigged and broken. The only thing you can rely on is you and the people in your community to make justice happen for yourselves. So get out there and do it. Yeah, as Trey says, courts are about procedure, not justice. That's the world that we live in now. If you want justice, you have to be the ones who do it. That'll do it for today. As I said, we'll be talking about Daniel Penny whenever the ruling comes out on that. I've got a couple other things on the docket for the rest of the week. Also tonight at 8:30 Central, I will be joined by Don the Pleb for our Ways of the World. We're going to be talking about Trump's cabinet picks. So if you got any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want us to talk about with Trump's cabinet picks, hit me up, let me know, and we'll try to get to all of that. That'll do it for now. I will see you later.